Hi, everyone. I'm Mark Prevost. I've been with Impexium's parent company for over 6 years now. And I have an amazing job. I've got to tell you, I get to help associations figure out how to do more, have more impact, how to grow. So I love what I do. I kind of feel like I'm helping mission-based organizations, make the world a better place. And so that's a little bit about me, but I'll tell you, the star of today is going to be Sara. So Sara, how about if I turn things over to you?
Thank you, Mark. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sara Greene. I am the Senior Director of Member Development and Engagement at NACHA. For those of you who may not know who NACHA is, we are responsible for getting you your direct deposits. So we govern the ACH network, which is the payment system that drives safe, smart, and fast direct deposits and direct payments that has the capability to reach all U.S. banks and credit unions. So chances are you don't know it, but your bank, you're utilizing us on a daily basis. About 30 billion ACH network payments were made in 2022, just to give you an idea, valued at $77 trillion. So our responsibility is developing the rules and standards, provide the industry with solutions. We deliver education, accreditation, and advisory services. And I have the pleasure of currently spearheading our development, moving into a new AMS system. So a lot of what NACHA does is heavily dependent on our technology, which is why I was invited to be part of this conversation.
Yeah, and we're gonna spend some time today talking about kind of the intersection of technology and culture, right? So all sorts of good things happen from culture. Culture is a big buzzword. We all know that. I think we all have a concept of what we mean when we talk about culture, but what good happens out of culture, right? So performance increases, teamwork increases, we have more fulfilled staff, we serve our customers better. So, and one of the things that, we've identified is that our technology, for better or worse, can really impact our culture, right? So at Impexium, for example, one of the things that we're big on is letting people see the data. How do we make people, how do we help people to do their jobs quicker, easier, more efficiently, so more effortlessly, right? So whatever functional area that they're working in. And when we do that, everything elevates, right? So when we talk about elevating and we talk about culture, so Sara, I'm going to ask you about this, right? Because you've won, for 5 years in a row now, one of the best and brightest places to work. So tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about culture. Tell us a little about how technology is influencing culture at NACHA.
Yes, absolutely. Happy to share that. So at NACHA, we do follow we have 5 core values that everyone very much takes to heart and adheres to. The 5, just to rattle them out very briefly: we don't sit by this on the sidelines. We are brave. We are curious. We are each great together, each great, but together we are better. And we don't take ourselves too seriously. So our culture is very much, especially related to technology, we work very closely together with every single department across NACHA, not just the IT department making those decisions of what the technology needs are for the organization, but we have taken steps to very much democratize the way that we go about attaining and implementing new tools and technologies within the organization. For instance, again, as I mentioned at the beginning, I am spearheading the changeover to a new system this year, and we have 27 stakeholders out of the 70+ employees that we have in NACHA who are actively participating in the implementation process every step of the way, from reviewing the requirements to giving us feedback on how they utilize our current AMS to what their wish list is for the future AMS that we're moving over to, and by the way, which is Impexium. So the way that technology impacts us on a daily basis is we definitely have more of those open conversations and take the feedback from our staff to heart before we implement anything that's new, and that will affect their day-to-day work processes.
So I was really impressed with how you went about your AMS replacement search. So Nacha had been on a highly customized legacy system that was used, obviously throughout the association. And you had so many stakeholders, right, that really were able to bring a voice. And the way that you just helped people navigate the process, feel included in the process, feel like they had a voice. We do this a lot. We don't always see that. So one of the things that, that I really was impressed by is that you really had a technology champion, right, as you went through this. So we've noticed that in good technology projects, you have a technology champion that's really, leading the vision and the envisioned future of the organization for why that technology is being implemented. And for culture, right, from an organizational perspective, to have cultural champions that are driving that. So maybe you can share a little bit at Nacha, how do you have technology champions that make everyone feel, a part of the process and validated in that? And how do you have cultural champions as well?
Yes, that's an excellent way to discuss how we can all be more successful with technology. So in terms of having a technology champion, what has worked for us and even prior to joining the Nacha family is making sure that you're recruiting someone that's not necessarily from the IT department, someone who understands the needs of your entire organization at a high level, who can relate to each of those departments and be able to help those departments see how this particular technology, whether it's a new AMS or moving over to Teams or SharePoint or whatever the technology is that you're trying to get adoption on, helping them see how that will help them be more efficient in their day-to-day work. Not necessarily that we're doing this change for the sake of doing change, but helping them visualize what the future of their department could look like with this new tool. So that is very important. I don't want to say that it shouldn't be somebody from IT, but it's always helpful to have someone from a different department who can relate to everyone else. And for us at Nacha, the culture just very easily leads to having that technology champion be the voice for everyone else, because it happens to be the person that they can trust, that will have their best interests at heart, but also will be able to see the big picture for the entire organization.
Yeah, so I've learned in life that most good things don't happen without some intentionality, right? So when we don't apply intentionality, things just happen on their own. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not, or sometimes they're somewhere in the middle. So when we think about technology's ability to positively or negatively impact our culture, right? If we agree on that, if we agree that happy employees have a leading indicator in how our culture is built, and that derives from having cultural champions or technology champions, how do we apply some intentionality around developing these champions for us in our organization, right? So let's talk a little bit about how we can kind of elevate our culture as opposed to killing it, right, through developing technology champions. And Sara, maybe you could share a little bit about how you have done that at Nacha, right? So you talked about democratizing data, right? So we want to give everyone, not just a few, we want to give everyone access to data in their functional areas where they don't have to dig for it and they don't have to, nobody wants to go through the grunt work, right? So how do we allow technology to do all the grunt work so that when I'm working in whatever functional area I'm in, I'm feeling empowered and I'm serving members better. I'm doing all of those kind of virtuous things that come out of that cycle. So share a little bit about that with us, if you would.
Yes, absolutely. So that's democratizing our data is one of the main reasons that we ended up seeking a new AMS provider. We wanted to have a central location with where every single department is able to access data at a glance that is potentially affecting their specific areas. So the way that we're accomplishing this today, as we're still going through our implementation process, is we have taken advantage of things like creating Teams channels where we are able to all together collaborate, whether it is on a document or making comments on proposals that we're getting from our potential new technology providers, so that everyone is able to have their voices heard and be able to contribute the needs for each of their individual departments. So as we're heading towards implementing a new AMS system, we're taking into account every department's needs and making sure that they will all be trained to access this information and the data that we're moving over to the new system. And every step of the way, obviously, given them some insight without having a lot of people work better when they're able to see examples, and lacking those examples, still being able to help them visualize what this new data receptacle will look like for us, and making sure that they're giving us the details that are needed for them to access easily in the new system. So central location, being able to collaborate with each other has been essential for us.
When I first started to get to know you all, I was excited about how well democratizing data resonated with you, right? So one of the things that Impexium does that I think is different than some other AMS companies is we provide a site-wide license, right? So we're not saying, how many people do you want to have accessing the data? And then everyone that you add, you have to pay more for, right? I mean, that just goes completely antithetically to this idea. Let's give data to everyone. Let's make it easy for everyone to do their jobs. And I think people want to be successful, right? I mean, just by nature, you know, people want to do well. And when people do well, the organization does well. And giving people access to the tools and the data that they need just, I think, elevates that whole thing. So that's number one. Number two, let's talk about automation, right? So let's talk about workflow automation instead of task lists, right? So how many times do we see associations that, oh, we have a new member and now I have 7 tasks that I have to do. I have to add this person to this committee and I have to do, right? So how do we get out of the manual and move into automation?
That's another one of the big asks that we have that we're working on currently here at Naja. So through the various new tools that we've been able to implement, I think this might be a little, maybe sharing a bit too much with everyone on the call, but we recently, and when I say recently, within the last 2 years, moved over to SharePoint. So it wasn't something where everyone was able to access one central location for documents that we're collaborating on, but slowly being able to move towards technology tools that are allowing us to have more of that automated process in place rather than having to always rely on manual processes is one of our key objectives with moving over to our new AMS system. Where we're able to send, for example, something as little as being able to send a confirmation of payment when a customer logs in and makes a payment. That is not something that every organization currently has access to. I will say that currently Naja has to send those kind of receipts manually, whereas we're working towards building out that automation into the new system that we're moving into.
Yeah, I don't think any of us want to have to do tedious tasks, do copy and paste, right? That leads to just low morale. And I hear all the time when we're talking with folks in a sales cycle, for example, it doesn't seem like things should have to be this hard, right? And remember too, as we talk about culture, technology greatly impacts our members as well, right? So I'm at home. Many of us are working at home now. We're going to talk a little bit about that in just a minute. But I have an Alexa. I can say, "Hey Alexa, send me some paper towels," and 2 days later, I have paper towels at my door, right? So sometimes our members come and it's the member experience with our technology that we're competing against this Amazon-like experience as well. And so, we're focused today a little bit on talking about staff and morale and internal culture, but that affects our association, our member culture as well. And talking about working from home, right? So COVID changed everything. I oftentimes say to someone, "Hey, you want me to come out? I'll meet you at their office." And they're like, "Yeah, no, we barely go into the office anymore." So technology has to be able to adapt to, what I guess today we could call non-traditional work environments, and 10 years from now there'll probably be traditional work environments. So Sara, share with us, if you would, a little bit about how just staff flexibility and being able to meet your staff where they're at and work the way that they need to and whatever hours they need to and access the technology how they need to. Share a little bit about how that was important to you and how you're succeeding through that.
Sure. So not to make everyone on the call jealous, but I am very proud to share that NACHA is a remote first culture. It's something that even before COVID, there was a lot of flexibility with the staff in terms of how many times they are required to be in the office, what the work hours are. It's always been very dependent on the department needs and the department heads. Now that we have been remote for over 3 years, more than 100% remote over 3 years, we have decided that will continue and that will be part of our culture where we're not expected to be tied down to any specific location or office location. And technology has absolutely helped us be successful in this new environment. So from moving to the SharePoint environment, over utilizing everything possible with things like Teams. We also use a very robust Jira ticketing system where whenever we have any kind of technology issues, we can submit through that system and our IT department is on top of it within minutes. And certainly all that we require from our staff and most departments are very flexible. If you're meeting your deadlines and meeting the expectations of your role, there's not really an expectation that everyone will be online from 8 to 5 or from 9 to 6, whatever the regular work hours are. So, and technology has absolutely helped us be successful in that environment. But I will say that because of not just culture and the remote first culture that we've always embraced, it wasn't something that was tough for us to transition to during the pandemic.
Yeah, so there's a lot. I mean, we could spend a whole session just unpacking this, right? And there's a lot of studies, there's a lot of conversations being happening about, does remote work impact performance? And how do we onboard new staff, and how do we mentor, staff, younger staff, and promote them and mentor them and grow them, coach them through the organization. But I would think that as you're leveraging technology to address all of these issues in NACHA's culture, that while you're doing that, you wind up becoming an employer of choice, right? Because a lot of employees are looking for this type of flexible culture. You expand your recruiting pool, from whatever your local geographic, locale is to an almost unlimited geography, right? So anything that you would share about any of that?
Yeah, we absolutely have taken advantage of that. We have a handful of our staff, I will probably say between 15 to 20% of our staff, who's not even based in our direct geographic. We're headquartered out of Herndon, Virginia, but we have employees in every state. We have employees in Texas, some in the West Coast, some in South Carolina, North Carolina. So we have been able to take advantage of that precise fact that you mentioned, Mark, is that we've been able to look for talent outside of our geographical area because of the luxury that we have of being a remote first culture.
So I'm watching the clock a little bit, and this could have been an hour conversation. And we've got about 4 minutes left, so I'm going to move us a little bit quickly. At Impexium, we use a technology called Bonusly. And it's been wonderful for our culture because it allows us, as we operate virtually, to really stay connected with each other. And if I had more time, I'd talk about that. But instead, what I'd really like, Sara, for you to do is talk a little bit about your Bravo Awards.
Yes. So at NACHA, we have what labeled Bravo Awards. So on a quarterly basis, we do, even though we are a remote first culture, we do like to be together. So we do pick 3 times a year where we have what we call NACHA-palooza, where all the employees get together. And prior to NACHA-palooza, we go out to our staff, and actually throughout the year, anyone can submit a nomination for a Bravo Award. And the way that our Bravo Award is structured is we recognize our employees based on those 5 core values that NACHA lives by. So we continue to embrace it and make sure that is always permeated throughout the staff and throughout the year. So we recognize staff who are exemplary for those particular core values, and we celebrate them at NACHA-palooza at an all-staff meeting where we read out exactly what that employee went above and beyond about by the person who is recognizing that employee. And then we have some fun rewards around it, whether it be like gift card to Starbucks or to their preferred retailer, just to be able to celebrate each other's accomplishments. So it's very exciting.
I love that about your culture. When I think a little bit about my personal career, I've had folks all along the way that have coached me and mentored me, and that I've learned from, right? And so I think when people feel that their work has purpose and that they're a part of something bigger than themselves and they're making an impact, and that they can grow personally and professionally, and they have the ability to advance in their career, those type of people, they stay, right? They're employees and staff that we value and we retain, and they perform. So how are you using technology and culture to create opportunities for people to grow in their career, to make more money, right? To advance and develop professionally and personally? Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. So we do utilize it, as I'm sure many of the folks on this call do, is we do a performance review on a yearly basis. And throughout the year, we're able to, we do meet with our supervisors on a regular basis, where we're able to report how to continuously work towards our goals, so that come performance time, we're able to highlight those. And that is what, as much as it is in other organizations, I'm sure it will lead to whether or not that individual can grow in their particular role. The great thing about NACHA is because we have so many different departments, the association side of our organization, for example, is a very small group, but the network side, which is where the rules are created and enforced, has many opportunities for the employees who are interested in being more involved with that side of our organization. So we're a very flexible culture in that we encourage our employees to learn about what other departments are doing, and potentially that will open opportunities for them to grow their careers at NACHA. I am also very proud to share that the average tenure of employees here at NACHA is over 10 years, with some of our employees having spent their entire careers, over 25 years at NACHA, because of this amazing culture and opportunities that they have on a regular basis to grow what they're learning from the organization.
Yeah, I love that you shared that. One of the things that so I'm proud to be an Impexium employee, and I think that when we have vibrant cultures that do a lot of the things that we've been talking about, our employees are proud to be a part of that, right? And that's contagious, and people feel that. And Sara, I gotta say, I'm proud that NACHA, as an Impexium client, I think I'm always encouraged and energized when I get to talk to you, and when I learn more about what NACHA is doing. You guys are definitely thought leaders in our space, and I appreciate that so much. I do see Sherry popping in here, probably to let us know that our time is about up. So Sherry, thank you for having us, and let me just turn it back over to you for any closing comments.
So no, this is great. As you guys were talking, I think, I come from the consulting side of kind of in between what you guys are doing from implementation or the staff, and I'll always get the calls of, we've got this technology problem, and what happens is it starts to create culture issues because people are frustrated. And a year ago, I got a call from a CFO, and he said, I need a new system, but I don't have the staff because they keep quitting because they hate our systems. So until he got to the point, he's like, I'm going to be the last one here. So we have got to do something like really quick here. So, so I think, some of the things that you said, Sara, are really important, having the technology champion, integrating, technology into the workplace that helps people be productive and feeling like they're not frustrated, constantly through the day, and making that a priority for the organization can really improve upon an organizational structure. And you guys having people there more than 10 years plus is a testament to having that, and having that, leadership and such. If anybody has any questions, we will stay on a couple more minutes if you want to put them in the Q&A. And I'll just ask one if there's not any. I have my daughter's graduating from college on Saturday, and it's interesting seeing her go through that recruiting process, different than what when we did, or at least when I did. I think I'm older than both of you, but and how they talk about culture, but the expectations from a technology and culture standpoint. Do you guys have any tips on how you're attracting new talent in this this environment, and what you're thinking about?
Mark, I'll let you go first.
Well, I was going to say, Sara, I'm going to let you go first. So at Impexium, we happen to be an employer of choice, right? So, I mean, you look at our project managers, they've been, we've got long tenured people. We've got long tenured people on our account management, on our software development. And then that shows up down the line, right? It shows up to successful projects that are delivered on time and clients who feel supported. And so we, like NACHA, have long tenured staff as the norm. And I do believe that a lot of that stems from our culture, right? So because people have a choice today, people can go to work anywhere. So when we talk about, as an employer, we expand our universe of where we can recruit people from. The same thing happens for staff, right? So it's a whole lot easier today for people to leave. And the fact that we've got a couple of organizations, on the call today where that's not happening, I think is directly related to their culture. But Sara, how would you answer that?
Yeah, I would echo all of that, Mark, and simply just add, for us at NACHA, and I will reveal, I am one of the newest additions to the NACHA family. I've been with them for a little over a year. And one of the things that really attracted me to join this organization is certainly those core values and how genuine the entire leadership team really is. And they're passionate about the mission of the organization and what they're doing for the financial industry, specifically when it comes to NACHA, right? So when we go out to look for new employees, we do have a handful of positions that are open. We're looking first and foremost for that core value cultural fit, on top of obviously what their particular skill set may be, but we're looking for that culture fit, somebody who will add to that collaborative, democratic environment that we foster and value so much, and that has allowed us to be one of the top employers for the last 5 years running.
Great. Well, Sarah and Mark, we really appreciate your time and those that stayed with us today to hear the webinar. We will have, I also did a podcast, recorded it yesterday with Patrick from Impexium, and we kind of took a deep dive on this topic as well. So that'll be out in a couple weeks. So look out for the Association 4.0 podcast. And if you guys have any questions, Mark or Sarah, can you just say real quick how people can get in touch with you?
Sure. So Prevost@impexium.com.
And for me, S. Greene with an E at the end at nacha.org.
Great.
I'm also on LinkedIn and prefer LinkedIn for sure.
LinkedIn, yeah, me too. All right, everyone. Thanks so much. Hope everyone has a great rest of the week and great weekend, and we'll talk soon.